Mike Johnson's finally getting challenged a little bit on his rhetoric, among with a couple other Republicans, specifically their rhetoric on how they're taking people's Medicare, health care, and also with this now government shutdown that's happening, the battle over whose fault it is and the debate over what it is the Democrats want.
The Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement, what you said there. Let's be clear about what happened last night, George. No, George, let me tell you what happened last night. Everybody can go and review the facts for themselves. 44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple. Every Democrat in the House, except one, voted against the clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan in nature. There are no policy riders on it that Republicans favored. It's exactly what Chuck Schumer and other Democrats voted for in March. But they've changed their tune. They changed their tune because Chuck Schumer is having political problems right now. That's just a simple fact, and everybody knows that he's trying to outrun the far left portion of his base, so he's decided to inflict pain on the American people. That's
facts.
The reality of what we're facing.
Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. No. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
Isn't it weird? Why did it take this long for journalists like George Stephanopoulos to finally go, stop, Mike, you're lying. That's not the truth. So when he says, you're lying, George, you have to stop him right there and say, that's actually a statement of fact. It's a factual statement. I remember when Trump started running in 2015, and I was like, how come people don't stop him and say, that's not true? That's just not true. When are you going to answer the question? In fact, when are you going to stop lying? It took till right now for journalists that are on major networks to stop being afraid of saying, stop lying. I mean, they just started saying the word lie like last year. During this guy's whole first terms, definitely when he ran in 2016, they were like, well, we can't say lie. I mean, falsehood, twisting of the truth, bending of reality. They would never say the word lie as if lie is such a harsh word. So Mike Johnson also went on CNN. He's talking to Dana Bash.
You mentioned $1.5 trillion. $1 trillion of that is to reverse Medicaid cuts that you put in the big, beautiful bill.
Medicaid reforms, not cuts.
Well,
now don't take my word for it.
It's less spending.
Don't take my word for it.
You can call it what you want.
The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, which everybody cites and CNN does all the time as the neutral arbiter of all these things, they came out with a report on August 25th, just several weeks back, and they said, you know what happened in that big, beautiful bill, this is what we project. It's going to save Medicaid. It's going to strengthen Medicaid. Why? Because they CBO, not Republicans, CBO said 2.3 million improper enrollments are involved in Medicaid right now. What is that? Illegal aliens, young able-bodied men without dependents who are riding the wagon and should be working instead. Our legislation strengthens Medicaid because we kick those people off. They were not entitled. Medicaid is intended for U.S. citizens who are young, pregnant women, disabled, or elderly, not these other categories.
But once this goes into effect, which is after the midterms, people will feel cuts who are not necessarily...
Yeah, those young able-bodied men who are sitting at home playing video games? That's a big portion of it.
Not just them.
Look at the studies. Look at the studies.
He said that in both of those instances. Look at the studies. Look at the facts. Look later. Look at the information. Where, Mike? Just listen to him and then make him finish answering the question. Those are off-ramps from his bad argument that he's losing. Just go look at the facts. Go look at it. It's what you're saying is totally not true. He says it so smoothly because he's evil. I'm Jesus. I'm Moses. But everything he says is so based in his, like, Donald Trump's reality that as soon as someone challenges on him, he just goes off saying, well, maybe they can read the facts. By the way, he mentioned the CBO, and he mentioned how CNN and others like to cite the CBO. And he cited the CBO, the same CBO that during this budget debate, before they passed their bill, where he said the CBO is invalid in the way that they've analyzed and broken down this bill.
Some of the estimates, for example, by the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, are wildly inaccurate. They're assuming an historically low growth rate. The projection that he's referring to and others is from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. They are historically totally unreliable.
Why won't someone bring that back up to him? You're like, Mike, you're throwing the CBO at me. So why is it that you're now in favor of the CBO when previously you said that you were against the CBO, which while at the same time right now you just said that we use it as if it shouldn't be used? Which one is it, you fucking liar? Caroline Levitt got cornered too. Usually she has her talking points written down because they know what's going to come at them, but this time she just kind of got cornered and cowered and moved on. Watch.
We've been talking about the Affordable Care Act, enhanced premium tax credits, and sort of the politics of it all, right? But this is a very real, tangible impact that American people will feel. The Kaiser Family Foundation says that with the ACA enhanced premium tax credits, without them, premiums will go up 114% on average. 19 million of the 24 million people who rely on the coverage are in states that President Trump won. Is he concerned what will happen to those families if this tax credit expires? And aside from the shutdown, is there a plan to keep those premiums down?
Look, as the vice president just said, we are more than happy to have this conversation. The president and the vice president and this team are more than happy to have that conversation with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill. But it cannot happen right now. Right now, we need to reopen the United States federal government.
Are you willing to have that conversation, or have you been cornered on your lies? We can't talk about this right now because I have been given my talking points on how I can exactly lie about this. So let's have it afterwards. That's been their proposal as far as reopening this government, is give us everything we want, and we promise, because we've never lied before, that after you give us everything we want, we'll negotiate all those things that we just said we have to have. It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And as a matter of fact, even them talking about how they wanted to how Democrats wanted to shut down the government and they didn't. Every once in a while, I'd say like 5 to 6 times, Mike Johnson, as well as Donald Trump, all keep admitting this is exactly what they wanted.
President Trump has said, he could use this as an opportunity to further cut government and turn some of those temporary furloughs into permanent job cuts. Speaker, can you assess what you're expecting in terms of the job cuts and how severe they could be?
Yes, the president and I have talked about this at great length. While a shutdown is very damaging for real American people who depend upon government services, it can provide an opportunity to downsize the scope and the scale of government, which is something that we've always wanted to do. And so in a way, Chuck Schumer has now handed the keys to the kingdom to the executive branch under President Trump to do some things that we would not otherwise be able to do because we would never get Democrat votes for them. Now, Russ Vought is in charge, as you know, of the Office of Management and Budget, and it is his responsibility to look at all of this and make very difficult choices. He gets to decide now what services are essential, what programs and policies should be continued, and which would not be a priority for taxpayers.
Weird, huh? Suddenly, it's been a long conversation. He's talked extensively with Donald Trump about how they want to shut down more things. I thought Elon Musk already came in and cut and slashed and cut through fraud, waste, and abuse of all these agencies and people's jobs, but they want to minimize it even more. Why would that be? And also, why aren't they so upset about the government shutting down, but also all on board? While at the same time, before it even shut down, Donald Trump said, I'm not going to negotiate with anybody. Middle fingers for you guys so that we can make sure this happens, because he thinks that he's in this winning position to then say things like, we're going to cut more people's jobs. That very unpopular thing that they did. This is a party that's running roughshod. They don't care about popularity. Look at their approval ratings. They don't care about people voting for them. They don't plan on having any more of those. That's why the aggression and violence is now ramping up in more cities. This is to make more chaos, actual physical conflict with your citizens, so that when they fight back, you go, we can't have these elections anymore. So they don't have to worry about the horrible things that they say or the distancing things that they talk about, how disconnected they are from the rest of American people. They don't have to worry about that anymore. They're going to attack you. Donald Trump said this. He said, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought. He of Project, he put this in capitals, Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut. And whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people. So maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Do you remember during the campaign when someone brought up Project 2025 and how Russ Vought and how all these guys from the Heritage Foundation handpicked J.D. Vance to be his vice president, and how they have this whole plan, detailed plan to turn this country to a fascist state? And he goes, Never heard of it.
The other side's going around trying to make me sound extreme, like I'm an extremist. I'm not. I'm a person with great common sense. I'm not an extremist at all. Like some on the right, severe right, came up with this Project 25. They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right, and they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. What they do is misinformation and disinformation, and they keep saying he's a threat to democracy.
I don't know. Project 20. What would that mean? What does project mean? Why is 2025? What is that? He was clueless to the entire process, but now he's promoting it of Project 2025 fame. He's tossing middle fingers at the country, and he doesn't care how you react, because if you react badly, he's already got guns pointed at your face. Speaking of which, here's Mike Johnson trying to cover for that.
The president also said at the Pentagon yesterday that he wants American cities to be used as training grounds for the American military. Is this the highest and best use of the U.S. military, and is this the right way to train them?
I don't serve in the Pentagon. I run the House of Representatives. And what we need to be talking about today is real harm that the American people are going to feel because of what Chuck Schumer is doing. Let me tell you what's going to be.
Well, hold on a second. As Speaker of the House, do you answer the question? As Speaker of the House, do you believe it's appropriate to use American cities as training grounds for the U.S. military, calling those people in the American cities the enemy within? I'm asking you, as Speaker of the House, do you think that's appropriate?
I'm not going to comment on your characterization of what the president said. I didn't get to see that
quotes,
speech because I was a little busy yesterday. Well, you can take his quotes out of context, which you often do, and I don't think that's fair to the president. I'll tell you what he's done, though. He's put National Guard troops here in D.C. and cleaned up the crime problem. People can walk safely to and from work today because the president takes crime seriously. Some of the big mayors in some of these big blue cities are not, and I think that's probably what he was addressing there.
Just a little bit of pushback, and the guy has to flow right through to his next lie. Which one is it, bro? Is it that he characterized Trump incorrectly, or that he then, took his words out of context? Which one is it? Because he keeps shifting his argument as soon as someone finally blows it up. More factually based questions and no more desire to let them just steamroll it, change the subject, which he tried to do immediately to then talk about this. I want to talk about this government shutdown, which leads to the back end of this.
But what we need to talk about right now, speaking of troops, is that they won't be paid right now because the Democrats are playing political games. FEMA is not going to be provided. FEMA services will not be provided that the government is now shut down. If you have flood insurance that you need to renew before the hurricanes come on, you can't do that right now. We have critical medical services for veterans and their families. I mean, suicide prevention programs. These are really serious issues that are being caused by the government shutdown. And we need the Democrats to put the politics aside and keep the engines running here. That's critically important for the American people. And it's stunning to me that they're willing to play games like this when they themselves have said, go watch the tape, throughout their entire careers, that this should never be done.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Nothing I said about the president was out of context. Those were direct quotes from the president. But thank you for your time this morning.
Cherry-picked out of a long speech.
Let's turn now to House.
How about this lying asshole? He's talking about FEMA, medical services for veterans, suicide prevention issues, housing support. You mean all those things that they were bragging about from the very beginning of this administration coming in? How Donald Trump said he's going to hold on to FEMA services and how he's going to only dole it out to certain people who kiss his ass? How he put a new head of FEMA in, and he had this barking a diatribe about how everything is under his power and he gets to do whatever he wants with it? And how people died because in hurricane ravaged areas and flooding went down and they didn't give a damn about it. Are you talking about cutting those funds like he did? Or maybe how he said medical services for veterans, how they've fired veterans from those services, how they've cut down their medical care, all the things they've done to veterans. And the worst part was the suicide prevention hotlines. You mean that suicide prevention hotline that they cut down and made sure that any trans folks, kids, that were maybe calling in and needed some support, how they eliminated that? Don't listen to these liars. They don't care. Like straight-faced liars. They promoted how they cut all these things. Now it's the Democrats' fault for shutting down the government. Now all these services aren't going to be fulfilled. You mean the services that you already cut? They think you're that stupid.